Good morning, everybody. Just getting started here with Vinyasa at 7 a.m. My name is Amanda, so welcome to my first Zoom class. We'll see how it goes. I am recording it, so, if you are joining a little bit later and you want to get the full thing, then, it's going to be there. So to waste no more time, and let's get started in Shavasana. So everybody laying out on your back, flat on your back, rolling down one vertebra at a time, extending your legs out in front of you, arms down by your side. Gently closing your eyes, starting to focus on your breath and how the breath is moving through your body. Are you filling your belly? Are you filling your lungs? Inhaling, filling up. Exhaling, releasing. Thinking about the breath coming in and out through your nose. Breath in, breath out. Fill up. Empty. Big breath in. Release. Continuing that breath, knowing that the breath that we're doing, called the Ujjayi breath, is what can help us manage things like anxiety and mood symptoms throughout the day. Stopping to take a breath at any moment during the day when we're feeling kind of funky can really help us get through and move through that moment. It doesn't take us out of it. It makes us more present in the moment. And with that presence, we can move through anything. So keeping this breath going in and out through the nose, through your practice, is very important, as much as you can. Anytime during the practice, if you feel that you are gasping for air or you need to open your mouth and take a breath in, that's fine. But maybe take a break, back off a little bit, come down to a child's pose, come back to this beautiful Shavasana, recatch your breath, and then restart. So laying on the mat, eyes closed, focusing on this Ujjayi breath. Let's inhale and bring our right knee up into our armpit, relaxing that left leg long, flexing those left toes, relaxing the right, bringing that knee up and around the rib cage, up into the armpit, feeling that stretch. And now let's extend this right heel to the sky. We can clasp our hands behind our thigh, on our calf. Maybe we can reach up and grab a hold of our big toes. Feeling that stretch up the back of the legs. And now let's bend this knee again and bring it down. Let's lift the left knee. The right foot is flexed, the left foot is relaxed as we hug this knee up and around the chest. Hugging in, up and around the rib cage, compressing the left side body. Let's lift this left heel to the sky, clasping the hands behind the thigh, maybe behind the calf, maybe gripping the big toe with your peace fingers as you pull this left leg closer and closer to your face. And now releasing that leg, bringing the left leg down. Let's hug both knees into our chest, kind of rock side to side perhaps, taking a little bit of a back massage. Hugging in, working out the ankles. Let's take a happy laughing baby, grabbing a peace fingers, pulling those knees down, trying to keep the spine flat on the mat from tip to tail, top of your head to your tailbone, trying to keep that back super flat as you open up your hips. Now let's take our feet down to the ground, and we're going to take our right ankle on top of our left knee, Arms down by our side as we ground through our left heel and lift our hips, peeling our hips up off the mat as we inhale. Exhale, release down. Inhale to rise. Exhale down, isolating some strength in the hips and the low back, in the core here, which is just going to help us with functional movement throughout the day. Inhaling and lifting. Exhale down. Let's do 2 more. Ground down to rise up. And last one. And release. And let's take our arms to a capital T, and we're going to bring our right foot down to the ground for that twist. Gazing over the right shoulder, perhaps. If you want a little bit more in this twist, you can always take eagle legs, bringing that right knee closer and closer to the ground. Whatever feels good to get this spinal twist happening for you this morning. Lots of ways to do it. Whatever feels good, take that moment now. Using the breath to get deeper and deeper into the twist. Perhaps you're inhaling and bringing that right shoulder closer to the ground. Exhaling and bringing that right knee closer to the ground and that right foot closer to the ground. Now let's inhale and rise out of this. We'll bring that right foot to the ground. Left ankle on top of our right knee. Arms down by our side, grounding through the right heel this time as we peel our hips off the ground, peel our spine off the ground, and then inhale, exhale, release down. Inhale to rise, exhale, release. Inhale as we lift, exhale down. Inhale, lift, exhale down. Let's take 2 more. Last one. And now, let's take that twist, that left foot coming down to the ground for the twist. Arms out to your side. Maybe you're taking those eagle legs on this side, using your breath to twist deeper and deeper. Relaxing and melting into this twist. Let's inhale and bring it back to center. We're going to hug our knees into our chest, rock and roll the length of our spine. Maybe we can pause in a boat pose, extending our legs out, crossing our ankles, and coming to a seated position. Any comfortable seated position we'll do right here. We're going to lift our arms up overhead, clasp our fingers, release your pointer fingers, inhale up and over to the right, gazing over to the left perhaps, really feeling that stretch, that right hand, pulling that left hand over, feeling that stretch up the side body, and now inhale back to center, inhale and up and over to the left. Those fingertips pointing back to that back corner as you stretch the side body. That left hand pulling that right hand further and further, gazing over to the right perhaps, as you reach to the left. And now let's come back to center. Let's bring the right arm down and reach with the left hand, maybe coming down to our forearm. Inhale up, exhale over, left arm down, reaching with the right, perhaps coming down onto the left forearm. And back up to center. Now let's take a twist. We'll take this left hand to the right knee. The right arm falls behind. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, twisting, gazing over that right shoulder, using the breath again to get deeper and deeper into this twist. Lengthening on an inhale, exhale, twisting and gazing over the right shoulder. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist. And now release back to center. We'll take this right hand to the left knee. The left arm falls behind. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, twist open. and release. Let's take our fire log pose, right shin over our left shin, our shins are parallel. Knee over ankle, ankle over knee, arms up overhead, and we'll walk those fingertips forward, feeling a stretch up the right hip. Walking those fingertips as far forward as feels good to you, as much of a stretch in that hip as you want to get this morning. Maybe we can tent our fingers and kind of roll the shoulders. Feeling it stretch up the back, shoulders, as well as the hip. And now let's walk those fingertips back, switching legs, bringing the left leg on top, arms up overhead. Walk those fingertips forward. Feeling that stretch on the left hip. Again, tenting those fingers perhaps, maybe working out those shoulders. And walking back up. Let's roll over and coming into our tabletop position, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. We're going to pop our toes and send our hips up to the sky for our downward facing dog. First down dog of the day, we'll take our dog out for a walk, bending our right knee, bending our left. Maybe you can shake your head yes or no. Any intuitive movements here that feel good to you this morning. Lifting the toes, setting the heels down. Just working at any kinks. We'll bring our dog to stillness and lift our right heel to the sky, bending the knee and opening up the hip, taking some ankle circles, some knee circles, one way and then the other, really opening up that hip. Let's bring the right leg down, left heel rises, bending the knee and opening up the hip. Those ankle circles on this side, hip circles. And then bring it down. We're in our downward facing dog, and we take a breath in through our nose and a breath out. Inhale, closing the lips and exhaling through the nose. Breath in, breath out. Let's walk our feet to our hands, taking as much time as we can, tiptoeing slowly up to our hands. We're in our forward fold. Let's take our ragdoll pose, grabbing opposite hand to opposite elbow, swaying side to side. Then we could play with shaking our head, yes or no. And now let's bring those fingertips to the ground. Halfway lift, inhale, hands to shins perhaps as we keep that flat back. Exhale, fold. Let's bring our hands behind our calves here, scooping up our heels with all 10 fingers. Trying to get our arms directly behind our calves as we pull, biceps folding, pull our head closer and closer to the mat in this forward fold. And now let's release. Inhale to a flat back. Exhale, fold. Rising up on an inhale, one vertebra at a time, arms up overhead. Let's cactus our arms, take that back bend, look back, go back. Exhale, fold forward. Halfway lift. Stepping back to our high plank position, coming down to our knees as necessary. Lowering all the way down to your bellies. Wrists are under shoulders, tops of the feet pushing into the mat, setting up for cobra. Tops of the feet pushing into the mat so hard that the knees lift up off the mat as we inhale into cobra. Exhale, lower down. Let's take a breath in. We'll add a little more weight with the hands, just a little bit more lift. Exhale, release. Inhale, let's rise, maybe 50% of the weight in the hands. Exhale down. And now let's lift up to an upward facing dog. Breath in, belly button into spine as we push back to our downward facing dog. Breath in through the nose, breath out through the nose. Inhale, exhale, fill up, empty. Let's walk our feet to our hands. Halfway lift, fold, rising up, extended mountain pose, reaching up, looking up. Let's take our hands to our sacrum. Inhale, exhale, back bend, pushing those hips forward, looking back, going back. Exhale, folding forward, halfway lift. Let's step back, jump back perhaps, moving through our vinyasa, lowering down your way, either through chaturanga, coming up through upward facing dog or cobra, downward facing dog. Breath in, breath out. Inhale, exhale. Fill up, empty. Let's walk our feet to our hands. Halfway lift, fold, rising up, extended mountain pose, reach up, look up. Let's jellyfish our arms this time and take that back bend, looking back, going back. Exhale, folding forward. Halfway lift, step back, jump back, move through your vinyasa, lowering down on your exhale. Inhaling to rise, downward facing dog. Breath in, breath out. Inhale, exhale. Fill up, empty. Walk, step, or jump, feet to your hands. Halfway lift, fold. Let's bring our toes together to touch. Our heels are slightly apart, lowering our hips into our chair pose, our Utkatasana. The weight is in our heels. Working this pose from the ground up. Weight is in our heels. We can just lift our toes off the mat. Knees are together, hips in line, sinking down into this chair, belly button in, our tailbone tucks as our pelvis lifts, shoulder blades back and down, arms up overhead, gazing up overhead, holding this pose for about 5 breaths. Big breaths in, breath out. Inhale, reach. Exhale, sink. Inhale. Exhale. Filling up. Empty. One more inhale. Exhale, fold forward. Halfway lift. Stepping back, jumping back, moving through your vinyasa. Lowering down on that exhale. Inhale to rise. Downward facing dog. We bring our right heel up to the sky and we swing it forward for warrior one. That left foot coming down, that left foot heel coming down at a 45-degree angle, 90-degree bend in this right knee. Hips in line, bringing this left hip forward, right hip back. Inner rotation of this left thigh helps to make that happen. Arms up overhead, warrior one. Inhale, reaching. Exhale, sinking a little lower, making sure we maintain this knee right over the ankle. We don't want to go too far forward. That's damage. We don't want to go too far back. We don't get that much benefit. So directly over the ankle is where it's at. Arms up overhead. Inhale, reach. Exhale, folding forward, going through your vinyasa, stepping back, lowering down on that exhale. Inhale to rise. Downward facing dog. Breath in, breath out. Inhale, exhale. Let's bring this left foot forward, swinging it forward, rising up on the inhale to our warrior one. Checking our alignment, 90-degree bend in that left knee. Hips forward, that right hip forward, left hip back. Inner rotation of the right thigh. Arms up overhead. And breathing, maintaining that Ujjayi breath, trying to keep it going through the whole practice. Inhale, look up, reach up. Exhale, take it to the mat, moving through your vinyasa. Stepping back, lowering down. Inhaling to rise, upward facing dog or cobra, downward facing dog. Breath in, breath out. Inhale. Exhale, filling up, empty. Let's hop, step, or jump, feet to your hands. Halfway lift, fold. Let's sink into our chair, toes together to touch, heels slightly apart. One breath, inhale, Utkatasana. Exhale, forward fold. Halfway lift, Step back, jump back, move through your vinyasa, lowering down through chaturanga, inhaling to rise, downward facing dog. Right heel rises, swing it forward, warrior one. Inhale as you rise up. Exhale to the mat. Keep that right leg lifted, perhaps as you lower down through chaturanga. Inhale to rise, downward facing dog. Left heel rises, swinging forward for warrior one. Inhale as you lift. Exhale, fold, going through your vinyasa. Lifting that left leg as you lower down, perhaps. Inhale to rise. Back to downward facing dog. Then we take a breath in and a breath out. Inhale. Exhale. Breath in. Breath out. Let's walk our feet to our hands. We're going to walk our feet to our hands on the outside of our hands, but we're setting up forearm Alasana yogi squat. Your heels are in, toes are out, feet maybe as wide as the short side of your mat, but doing whatever is necessary with your feet to get into this squat in a way that works for you. Hands coming to heart center to start, and enjoying this lovely hip opener. And now, if you're working on crow, if crow's in your practice, go for it. But let's all try for crow this morning because I just feel like it. So what we're gonna do, we're taking our hands and we're planting them on the mat in front of us. A lot of people learn how to do crow with their elbows on the outside of their biceps. And, you know, it works, but it's not the absolute correct way. You really want your elbows or your knees, what am I saying? Your knees up on your biceps, really up into your armpits, because there's a lot of ways that crow can go from there. But for purposes now, so we're in our Malasana yogi squat. We're planting our hands. And a lot of these arm balances come from the chaturanga arms. So if you're still working through chaturanga, you may not be ready, but maybe you are. Try it. So we're planting these hands. We're going to bring our knees up into our armpits on the backs of our biceps. And if we're practicing with this, we are leaning forward and maybe lifting one leg, maybe the other. And then eventually we are finding the core stability to lift both. And then you hold this for as long as you can, getting longer and longer and stronger each time. And if you're in your crow and you're working on your jump backs, let's jump back to chaturanga. Inhaling to rise, downward facing dog. Let's meet back in our Malasana yogi squat. Anyone not joining us in crow, totally fine. It's not necessary to be able to do crow to be able to do yoga. It's just a fun thing to learn how to do. But if we're in our Malasana, we're going to flow through some twists here. So we're going to bring our left hand to the mat. Our right arm is going to reach up and reach behind, coming into that sort of half bind, gazing up over the right shoulder, feeling that twist. Let's bring that right hand to the mat. Left arm rises, taking that half bind. And let's bring that back. We're going to plant our hands, send our hips to the sky, toe heel our feet together. And now let's take our peace fingers to our big toes, pulling our head down to the mat, feeling that forward fold, that stretch up the backs of the legs, pulling our head closer and closer, further and further towards our shins. Now let's release those toes. Toes together to touch, heels slightly apart. We're going to sink our hips, coming into our Utkatasana. Hands coming to heart center. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, we're going to twist to the right, keeping our knees in line. We're not twisting from the hips, which will keep this happens a lot where we try to make this happen. Knees in line, twisting from here. Hands at heart center. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, look to the right. And now maybe we could bring this left elbow down to our right knee. Working on those hands, moving back to heart center. If side crow is in your practice, it's your opportunity to take it here by planting our hands, making that little shelf with our little chaturanga shelf with our elbows, leaning forward and lifting up. Let's meet back in our twist, our prayer twist. And exhale, fold forward, halfway lift, step back, jump back, move through your vinyasa, meeting in your downward facing dog. Right heel rises, swinging it forward, warrior one. Exhale to the mat, lifting that right leg perhaps as we lower down on our exhale. Inhale to rise, downward facing dog. Left heel rises, swing it forward, warrior one. Inhale, exhale down to the mat. Keeping that leg lifted as you exhale, lowering. Inhale to rise, downward facing dog. Breath in, breath out. Inhale, exhale, fill up, empty. Feet to your hands. Toes together to touch, heels slightly apart, sinking those hips into your chair. Bringing those hands to heart center, twisted prayer chair on this side. Elbow, right elbow to left knee, keeping these knees in line. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, twist. Again, working on getting these hands back to heart center. So on every inhale, your spine is lengthening forward. On every exhale, your shoulder is peeling back, peeling open, opening that chest. If you're working on side crow on this side, knowing that one side sometimes takes longer than the other to get, take your side crow now. Meeting in our prayer twist. Exhale, fold forward. Let's take gorilla, stepping on the palms of our hands, tickling our wrist creases with our toes as our elbows bend back towards our shins, pulling our forehead down closer and closer to the mat. And let's release. Inhale to a flat back. Step back, jump back, moving through your vinyasa, meeting in that downward facing dog, using the breath as a vehicle to move you through these poses. Once in downward facing dog, our right leg rises. We're going to bring our right heel forward, rising up this time into our crescent lunge. Arms up overhead. Let's exhale and take our chest to thigh. Inhale, rise. Exhale, chest to thigh. Inhale, rise. Exhale, chest to thigh. Inhale, rise and open to warrior two. And now we're going to take our extended side angle. Our right elbow to our right knee, our left arm coming up and over our left ear, gazing up. Options in our extended side angle are to stay right here. Maybe you're working on that half bind. Maybe you're working on that full bind. Maybe you're working on that bird of paradise where we bring this left leg up underneath us to stabilize, coming up on our tiptoes of our right foot, gathering the strength as we rise up, extending this right leg out. Birdies, come on down. Everybody meeting in our extended side angle. Inhale and reverse, sitting that right hand up. Exhale to the mat, moving through your vinyasa, lifting that right leg perhaps as you lower down. Inhale to rise, downward facing dog. Left heel rises, bringing it forward. Crescent lunge on the left. Arms up overhead. Let's take it chest to thigh as we exhale. Inhale, rise. Exhale, chest to thigh. Inhale, lift. Exhale, take that chest to thigh. Inhale to rise and open to warrior two. I'm going to switch sides. Reverse that warrior, so that left arm up, and then extended side angle, left elbow, left knee, reaching that right hand over. Options here to stay here in this extended side angle, using the breath, inhaling to lengthen, exhaling to open. Maybe we're working on that half bind, full bind, popping up to that bird of paradise. Maybe. There it is. All right, birdies, come on down. Meeting in our extended side angle. Let's exhale. Inhale. Reverse that warrior. Exhale to the mat. Moving through your vinyasa. Perhaps we're lifting your leg as you lower down. Inhaling to rise. Downward facing dog. Breath in. Breath out. Breath in. Exhale. Filling up. Empty. Walk, step, or jump. Feet to your hands. Halfway lift. Fold. Let's rise up to our extended mountain pose. And arms down by our side. Tadasana. Very good. Getting up for our balance series. Let's start with our eagle pose. Bringing our right arm under. Right leg over. Sinking into that standing leg. Hugging in, belly button to spine. This pelvic tilt is so important with this core work that we're doing here. Tailbone descends as your pelvis lifts. Sinking into that standing leg. And now let's release out of it, arms up overhead. Left arm under, left leg over. Working on grounding through the four corners of the feet. Not rolling over to the pinky side toe of your standing foot. Grounding down to rise up. And release. If you have a block, go on ahead and grab it. Or we're going to add on to our eagle and eventually come into a half moon. So you may not like a block in your half moon, but if you do, and you have some kind of block or block-shaped item, grab it now and place it where you think you want to use it. So coming into eagle on the right again, which means right arm under, right leg over, sinking into that standing leg. Inhale, elbows up to shoulder height. Exhale, elbows to knees. Unraveling that top leg, sitting that right leg back. We're in our bound warrior three. Our right hip is rolling down, pointing down towards the mat. Opening up our arms for Dekasana airplane, hips closed, facing the mat. Now for our balancing half moon, we're going to open up our hips. This right hip rolling up. That left hand coming down, perhaps to the block. Right hand rises. And then maybe we can eventually gaze up at our right hand, opening up. And let's bring it down, coming into a forward fold, halfway lift, exhale, fold, rising up, extended mountain pose, left arm under, left leg over, grounding into our standing leg, eagle pose on the left, belly button in, tailbone descends as your pelvis lifts. And now let's take our elbows to knees. Unraveling that top leg, we're in our bound warrior three. The left hip rolling down. Opening up our arms for airplane. This left hip opening up, right hand reaching down towards the block, left arm up, gazing up at your left hand. Easier said than done. All right, and let's bring it down. Forward fold. Exhaling any judgments for falling out of your half moon. Inhaling all the awesomeness and how amazing your body is for the things that it can do. Exhale here. Inhale. Now let's rise up to our extended mountain pose, reaching up and coming down to Tadasana. Setting up for our standing leg raise. Grounding through our left leg. Our right knee rises. Grabbing a hold of that right knee, perhaps left hand on our hip. Keeping that right foot flexed. If this is where balance is for you this morning, totally fine. Staying right here, we're building strength, we're building stability, we're building balance. We're making sure we're not locking out the knee joint. Very much soft in the knees, slight bend in the knee. We're holding ourselves up with our muscle, we're holding ourselves up with our core, not our joints. If we use our joints in this way too much, we might look like we're doing the pose, but we can also be doing damage that's going to limit our ability to do these poses in the future. So hugging everything in, skin to muscle to bone, hanging out right here. If you want a little more fuller expression, if you want a little hip opening action, you can open up to the right. Maybe take that left hand off of the hip, gazing over. If you're going for oodles more flexibility and opening, grabbing a hold of that big toe and opening up may be an option for you this morning. Now let's all bring it back to center and down. Great, shake it out. Grounding through the right leg this time, making sure we're not locking out that right knee joint, feeling those muscles wrap around the bone, feeling that stability. We bring our left knee up, grabbing hold of that left knee. Inhaling, hugging everything in. Exhaling, taking your option, staying there, perhaps opening up. Grounding through the four corners of the feet. That right hand off the hip, gazing over to the right. And let's bring it back to center and down. Beautiful work. We'll finish off our balance series with a quick round of tree. Taking your tree, whatever type of tree you want this morning. Grounding through our left foot, bringing our kickstanding our heel at our ankle or on our calf or on our thigh. Hands into heart center to start. Pushing hand into hand helps with that balance, but remembering that it's all about this core, those bridges that we did in the beginning of class, that's where it helps to hold us up in these poses, building that strength in the low back, building that strength in the hips. Helps with the functional movement to do things like this or just walk around during the day. But you've got to work it in these classes. Really feel that belly button coming into spine, that pelvis lifting as the tailbone descends, hands into heart center. If you're feeling stable and you want to, you can always take your hands somewhere new. Lifting those arms up overhead perhaps. Maybe we can clasp the fingers, sending those palms up to the sky. If you're feeling really stable and you want to challenge it, you can always try that. Leaning over to one side, leaning over to the other. And nice, bring it down. Excellent, let's do tree on the other side. Grounding into that right foot, bringing our left foot where it's comfortable this morning. Listening to your body and knowing what you need today. You know, in fact, my balance has been off today, so I'm going to kickstand right here as I work on feeling this hip opening, feeling this toggle even in this pose. Hands starting at heart center, shoulder blades back and down. Taking our hands somewhere new. Maybe we can try for that lean over to the right, over to the left. And let's bring it down. Gorgeous work, everyone. Arms up overhead. Exhale, fold forward. Halfway lift. Let's step back to our high plank position. Lowering down to our bellies. Setting up for our belly down postures this morning. Our toes are together to touch. If our low back is speaking to us and that does not feel comfortable, you can keep your toes about hip width distance. But if your low back is fine, toes together to touch, chin on the mat, arms down by your side, palms on the mat. On your next inhale, we're lifting up into locust. So inhale and rise, belly button into spine, hugging everything in, thighs spinning in towards each other, squeezing the glutes, squeezing the muscles, lifting and releasing down, taking a cleansing breath in through the nose, cleansing breath out. Arms down by your side, toes together to touch, chin on the mat. Second round of locust. On your next breath, on your next inhale, rising up. As you're holding, remembering to breathe. Sometimes we try to hold our breath in this pose. Don't do that. Keep that breath going in and out through your nose as you lift, hugging everything in. Lift higher. And now exhale, release. Inhaling through the nose. Exhaling through the nose. Nice. Taking our floor bow next. We will do 2 of these. So if you want to grab 1 foot at a time, that's an absolutely beautiful option. Taking your option today, reaching back, grabbing a hold of your toes right at that shoelace line. Chin on the mat to start. On your next inhale, making that beautiful teardrop shape, working on getting those toes in line with each other, up and up over the head. We're in the soft part of our bellies. Really lift, really reach, keep lifting, and release. Taking that cleansing breath in, cleansing breath out. Let's do floor bow number 2. If you did one leg, grab a hold of the other leg this time. If you did floor bow, grabbing a hold of your toes, maybe you want to try the power bow where you reach back and grab a hold of ankles. Grab a hold of whatever you can right now, totally fine. Grab a hold of it and lift up on your inhale, make that gorgeous teardrop shape. If you are in your floor bow, you're on the soft part of your belly. If you've reached back, grabbed a hold of your ankles and you're in that power bow, come onto the tops of your thighs, rock back a little bit. Lifting, 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 getting those toes over your head and then release down. Windshield wiper your feet back and forth, releasing that low back. Beautiful. Yes. Excellent. We're on our bellies. Let's push back to a child's pose for a moment. Sinking our hips down, reaching those fingertips forward, forehead on the mat, just taking a little bit of a break in the breath. Inhale, exhale. Now let's walk those fingertips up. We're going to come to standing on our knees as we set up for our camel. Popping your toes, sending your heels up, starting with our hands at our low back, hands on our sacrum. We're going to inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, start tracking a line in the ceiling with your eyes looking back, going back. If you can look, if you're not, don't jump into your low back. We're really lifting out of the pelvis, gazing back, looking back at that back corner. And then perhaps you can reach down and grab a hold of your heels, pushing your hips forward, pushing your heels apart with your thumbs, opening up the chest, breathing, holding here for a few breaths. One more inhale. Slowly rising out of this, sinking back onto your heels, hands on your knees, gently close your eyes. And allow whatever just swirled up around you to let it go. Camel has a way of stirring up a lot of the stress that you've been thinking about. for days, weeks, months, years. Let it all go. It's swirling it up to get it out of you. You don't need it, promise. Let's do one more camel. Coming up onto our knees, popping our toes, hands on our low back to start perhaps. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, hips forward as we look back, go back. We're not dumping into our low back as we reach back, grabbing a hold of those heels, perhaps breathing through this camel. Inhale as we rise. Hips down to our heels, hands on our knees. Gently close your eyes, taking a few more breaths here to let all of that nonsense out of us. Breathing in. Exhale, letting go. One more inhale. Exhale. We went one way with our spine. Let's go the other way. Bringing our heels outside of our hips. We're going to make our Lego man hands, our little C grip, reaching those into our back pockets until they hook onto our heels. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, bringing the top of your head right by your knees so that your forehead is touching your knees. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, bringing the top of your head down to the mat. Heels or hips lifting up off the heels as you round your back. And let's sink our hips back down, rising up. Excellent. Let's come out to, let's go back to our child's pose for just a moment, sending those arms out in front of us, reaching those fingertips forward. Let's take our right hand underneath, threading that needle, coming down on our right shoulder and right ear. Using the breath to twist deeper and deeper, walking those left fingertips forward. On that inhale, exhaling, walking the right fingertips to the side, really getting deeper into that twist. Now let's release out of this, sending that right hand out. And we're going to take our left hand, threading the needle here, sending that left hand out to the side, down, left shoulder, left ear. On an inhale, walking those right fingertips forward. On an exhale, walking the left fingertips to the side, getting deeper and deeper into that twist, using the breath to twist deeper. And release out of it, walking those fingertips forward, taking a nice breath in, breath out, inhale, exhale. Let's plant our hands, lifting our forearms and elbows up off the mat, tucking our toes, sending our hips up to our downward facing dog. Our right heel will rise, bending the knee and opening up the hip. And then we're going to swing this right leg forward, right shin parallel to the short side of the mat, setting up for our resting half pigeon. Sending that left leg back. If we're feeling one of our hips is too far off the mat, we can always use a block to place underneath that hip. You can take the block here to rest your hands or forearms down, whichever way is most comfortable to you. Inhaling and lifting, exhaling, relaxing down into your resting half pigeon. Anything that we didn't get rid of in camel may start to come up here. The to-do list, the worries, the anxieties, the stress, maybe even the things you're excited about today. Whatever it is, try as you might to stay present in this moment. This moment matters. Each moment matters. And right now, you're in resting half pigeon. You're opening up your hips. You're doing amazing benefits for your body. And that's all that matters in this moment. If you can't get that to-do list out of your head, take a look at it and then see yourself writing put to-do list away with a checkbox. Check that off and then mentally put it away. You've technically done something on your to-do list at this point. You're following your rules, so just use this time to relax and release. Let's inhale and rise up. We're going to plant our hands, pop our left toes, coming into our downward facing dog, sitting this right leg high, just kind of taking some hip circles, and then bringing that right leg down. Left heel rises, swinging that left foot forward, or left shin forward. Left shin is parallel to the short side of the mat as we can make it, flexing that left foot to protect the knee, using a block as needed under any hip that's not quite down on the mat, and then relaxing down, perhaps on a block, perhaps all the way down onto your mat, melting into this pose. Inhale as you slowly rise, popping those right toes, coming into our downward facing dog, sending this left leg back, maybe taking those hip circles this way, bringing those left toes down. We're in our downward facing dog, and we take a breath in, breath out, inhale, exhale, big breath in, release. Let's walk our feet to our hands, coming into our seated forward fold, extending our legs out in front of us. Arms up overhead, identifying our peace fingers, reaching forward and grabbing a hold of our big toes. As we pull those elbows to our knees, keeping a flat back as much as we can, pulling our eyebrows towards our toes. Feeling that stretch through the backs of the legs. And now let's release. Coming up to seated, we're going to lower onto our back, slowly one vertebra at a time, all the way down. Let's hug our knees into our chest, rocking and rolling side to side, massaging out that low back. Take one last happy laughing baby, noticing any difference in our hips from the beginning of class. trying to pull those knees down towards the mat while keeping your spine flat on the mat. From tip to tail, straight spine. Hug those knees into the chest one more time. Let's bring our forehead up to our knees, hugging into a tight little ball. Really feeling the tension build in every single muscle. And then releasing out, letting go of that tension. Coming into your final resting pose, Shavasana. Ending the class where we began the class this morning, closing your eyes and breathing. Hanging out in the Shavasana as long as you can, feeling all the great effects and benefits of all the poses that we've done. Poses that alleviate anxiety and depression, that increase and improve digestion, that detox the body. Allow all of those benefits to flood your body right now as you lay still, eyes closed, breathing deeply and relaxing. Thank you for joining me this morning. It's always a pleasure to lead these classes and have the ability to do so. In yoga, we say, the light in me sees and recognizes the light in each and every one of you. Namaste.